Hello, Facebook Live. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. What's happening, everybody? I want to talk about National Dark Chocolate Day coming up. It is an official food holiday. In fact, every day of the year, there's sort of an official food holiday that goes on. And sometimes we don't even know about these holidays, as every association, organization is trying to celebrate and talk about their specific food. So Saturday, February 1st, is National Chocolate Day. So we're, of course, doing something a little promotional at the restaurant. We're going to be featuring our dark chocolate torte, and we have some past vintages of Brooklyn dark chocolate stout beer. That you can either order together or order separately, but we're just letting everybody know National Dark Chocolate Day, February 1st. It is not on Valentine's Day, as most people think Chocolate Day is, but it is February 1st every year. And I want to talk about some things that you may not know about chocolate. Chocolate is an amazing, amazing food. A lot of health benefits to it, possible health benefits to it, if it's the right chocolate or the right cacao. Cacao being the bean that you use to make chocolate. Cacao is believe it or not, chocolate or cacao is an actual fruit. That's the first thing a lot of people don't know is chocolate is a fruit. It grows on in a pod, and you're eating the seeds of the fruit. So it is indeed a fruit. Not your typical not typically classified as a fruit. When you go into the USDA food pyramid or into a grocery store, it's not in the fruit section, but it is technically a fruit. Another thing about chocolate that you may not know is that chocolate grows in these pods that grow on the trunk of the tree, not on the actual branches. So it grows on the trunk. So that's another interesting thing about chocolate. There's a lot of really cool, interesting things about chocolate that we don't really know because chocolate doesn't grow here. Chocolate is a very tropical plant. I believe down in the southern part of the Florida Keys you can grow chocolate, but chocolate originated in Peru, Ecuador. That's where chocolate is originally from, and chocolate will grow around the equator if it's planted in that proper climate. So with chocolate being originating in Peru and Ecuador, that's its home. That's where the true wild chocolate comes from. Everywhere else in the world, chocolate has pretty much been cultivated, especially Africa. And then when you go through Indonesia and Bali, chocolate is transplanted to Africa. So when you take chocolate out of its main region of Ecuador and Peru, you have to have a hybridized plant. So if it's coming from Africa or from Bali or from Indonesia, those areas, it is automatically 100% hybridized. Hybridized trees are very short trees, so they can walk up to them and basically pick the pods off of the tree. True wild chocolate, the trees are much taller, and you have to actually go and get a ladder and go up on the tree, and that's how you would pick them or forage them. So wild chocolate grows a lot taller than hybridized chocolate. And the other interesting thing is, just like blueberries, cultivated blueberries versus wild blueberries have a ton more antioxidants. The same thing with chocolate or cacao. So every time you read a report about chocolate having certain antioxidants and certain health benefits, chances are they are using when they're hyping this up, they're using the wild chocolate version, not the hybridized chocolate version. That is, I would probably say that more than 90. This is just a guess because I've been buying chocolate for many years. And we buy cacao powder here at the restaurant, and we have different ways of sourcing our cacao powder, or different specifications when we buy it. So we can literally buy Dominican, we can buy Mexican, we can buy Central South American, so we can buy Peruvian, and only Peruvian or Ecuadorian chocolate is offered in wild chocolate. All the other ones are all cultivated. So in my guess, and between the price differences, in my guess, more than 90% of the chocolate on the market is truly cultivated chocolate. It's the hybridized chocolate. It's not the real wild chocolate. It's not a common thing to be able to find that. Africa, which grows a ton of chocolate, which is all hybridized, all short tree, they are having a major problem because the trees are now getting to the point of that they're not producing anymore. The farmers are to a point where they're not reinvesting in the farms anymore, and so they're predicting that there could be a chocolate supply collapse. Now, here's the bad news with African chocolate. African chocolate is very riddled with slave labor or very, very unfair labor practices. Boys 8, 9, 10 years old, 7 years old, do get bought and sold to go into chocolate plantations and basically work there for years upon years in these chocolate plantations instead of going to school and living with their families. Some of them will. I've read many, many books and watched many, many documentaries on this. Literally, boys think they're going to get a summer job to earn money for a bicycle and they never return home. It's scenarios like that. Now, the big chocolate companies like Calabo, Hershey's, all these big companies will say that they're making a difference and they're doing things in Africa to keep the boys in school and things like that. The reality is very, very, very little is done in Africa. What happens is, in most African countries, you have to sell your chocolate. You're not allowed to sell your chocolate to like the end supplier. You have to sell it to the government. You have to sell it to some kind of co-op system. So you have all these small farms that are then producing for another mid-supplier. Then the mid-supplier then goes to Hershey, and Hershey builds a plant, maybe in a bigger city in Africa where they consolidate all the chocolate. Well, in the Hershey plant, there are no 9-year-olds working because they have strict policies there, and they're help building schools perhaps in that immediate area of these big cities. But when you get to the countryside where all the chocolate is being grown, there's plantations at Hershey's, Calabo, all these big guys never, ever, ever visit. They don't even know they exist. And again, because part of the system is you sell your chocolate to the government or to a mid-supplier that then sells it to somebody like Hershey. So Hershey very rarely gets actually on a plantation, on these small plantations. So it's still anything goes in a lot of these plantations in Africa. So if you really want to buy chocolate that is truly fair trade, fair labor, avoid African chocolate altogether. And the big suppliers know this. Hershey knows this. Mars, they all know this, and they still go back to Africa because the price is very, very affordable. And of course, we all know that you get what you pay for. There's a reason why it's affordable, because their labor is much, much less. South America would have the better labor systems in place. So again, when you are buying chocolate, you can then also, another thing that you might not know is most chocolate is large stack fermented, because you have to ferment it to kill off any of the bacteria that could possibly be in there. So they take these large stacks of cacao beans and they stack them together, and they do this really high heat fermentation, which will then break down or kill any of the bacteria. Certain producers, the high end, the very, 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 very high end producers, the chocolate that we buy, they do small stack fermentation, where they're very small stacks, literally a few feet high. They're much lower temperature to keep the antioxidants or the enzymes intact, where it's considered more of a raw cacao. And the chocolate is, of course, again, very pricey. So a lot of people I do these chocolate speeches as well as my salmon speeches, a lot of other food speeches. People always ask me, "Oh, Marcus, all this stuff that you're talking about, this chocolate, where do you actually buy this? Where can you actually buy this?" So you can go to a health food store and maybe buy stuff that is labeled raw, wild cacao powder. That stuff does exist in health food stores. You have to read labels. Don't expect to go into Whole Foods and buy the Whole Foods 365 label and get the best chocolate. Even though it might say organic, that's not the case, okay? So I would go online. There's a great supplier online called Olio, O-L-I-O, Olio, also known as Ultimate Superfoods. When you go on their website, they'll actually give you a choice of wild or hybridized chocolate. They'll go by its name of Ecuador or Peru, or they'll give you the sourcing of it. You can get very, very specific on there about the type of raw cacao. And raw cacao meaning that it's not been heated past a certain temperature to keep the enzymes active. Now, besides the small stack fermentation versus large stack fermentation, a lot of time when they grind the beans, grinding the beans will actually raise the temperature and then also eliminate the process of the enzymes. So that's something else. So they need special machinery to actually do a lower temperature grind. And when you look at a cacao bean, it looks like an almond almost. It has that brownish outer shell, which is the skin. You peel that back, and then you're left with this very dark chocolate, very bitter cacao bean. You can buy them in the store under cacao nibs as well, Nibs. Cacao nibs are very popular in the store, and that's something you can just sprinkle on ice cream or sprinkle on a dessert, or just snack on and put them with goji berries, mix them in your trail mix. So when people always say, "Oh my gosh," people have never really had truly raw cacao in its natural state. And when you give it to them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, Marcus, I can smell it." But when they go to taste it, it's something that they've never, ever tasted before, because it is truly dark chocolate. Now, when you buy dark chocolate in the store and it says dark chocolate, it can still have like 20-30% sugar. Because true cacao, true chocolate, is very bitter. So the amount, even when it says dark, even if it says like 90% cacao, there's still 10% in there of sugar, which is a tremendous amount of sugar. Imagine making a cup of coffee in the morning and having it 6 ounces, and then all of a sudden put a full ounce or 20% of that, which is more than an ounce, of sugar in your coffee. That is a tremendous amount of sugar, even if it's 90%. So, Denise is saying, my daughter just brought me chocolate from Peru. Awesome, awesome. National Chocolate Day. So, again, Peru, if you're just tuning in, Peru and Ecuador is the home or the origins of cacao meaning chocolate. And that is where it was originated. Anywhere else in the world, it's been transplanted. If it's in Africa, especially if it's in Africa or Bali or Indonesia, that is all hybridized chocolate. Hybridized chocolate being far less nutritionally dense than the real wild stuff that comes from Peru and Ecuador. And even the stuff from Peru and Ecuador is not all wild. You have to be very, very wary, and you have to do a lot of research. A lot of the stuff that comes out of there too is cultivated, and it is hybridized chocolate. So, because it's just a major advantage to have small trees that you can walk up to and pick. So again, National Chocolate Day is Saturday, February 1st this year, February 1st being every year for National Chocolate Day. And so hopefully this information was just a little, odd information, different information than you've been taught on chocolate before. And indeed, chocolate is a fruit. So get your fruit in on February 1st. And we're doing a little promo here at the restaurant with our dark chocolate stout beer from Brooklyn and our dark chocolate torte. Now, our dark chocolate torte is made with that very exact raw cacao that I'm talking about. It is wild raw cacao. It is made with coconut oil, maple syrup, and it is a truly raw, flourless chocolate torte. We cold set it in the freezer. If you've had our chocolate torte before, that is what exactly it is. It is amazing. People have been raving over this for 15 years on our dark chocolate torte. So that is our dark chocolate torte. So everybody have fun. National Chocolate Day, February 1st. And that's it. I will talk to everybody later. Have a fantastic day. And just drop a comment if you're tuning in live or if you're on the replay. And anything else, like where you're tuning in from, stuff like that. That always helps us. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later.